Colin was right.
Well, the Athletic, using an analytical projection model, ranked rosters, and Buffalo was third, right after the Seahawks and Rams. I keep saying this. I know Billy Beane is low-hanging fruit as a general manager. Look at their offense. Star quarterback, star left tackle, star running back, star tight end, excellent wide receiver. DJ Moore comes to town. Brandon Beane gets beat up. And I understand Josh Allen's great, hasn't been to a Super Bowl. I understand. But my takeaway is, guys, the Bills roster is not lampoonable. It's very good.
You know, I'd genuinely be curious to know how much consideration is given to Josh Allen in those analytical models people love to cite. Because, let's be honest with each other, and I want you all to agree with me here, Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the entire NFL. It honestly cracks me up how every single time I make that statement, people suddenly start finding all these flaws and objections. But yeah. Look, I'm never really all that eager to get into debates about who has the best roster on paper. Especially at this point in the season. That kind of discussion just doesn't mean much to me personally, particularly when you're trying to look at it through nothing but analytics. To be frank, I don't even fully understand what that's supposed to mean. I check the stats. I look at the analytical data too. But at the same time, I just don't care enough to truly dig into it, because it feels like. It reminds me of that time Nick had a complete meltdown over some ranking of the best defensive weapons in the NFL. I think the Chiefs were placed too low or something, I can't quite recall the details. And my reaction was simply, what exactly are we even talking about here? What is the point of this conversation? That said, I still think this is a useful starting point for the broader argument that the Bills aren't a good team, or that they won't be competitive, or that they're making all sorts of mistakes, and that there's no reason to expect them to be better this year and they were last year, and so on and so forth. In moments like these, I try to approach things in the simplest manner possible. Sometimes I love to overcomplicate issues. I enjoy getting lost in the finer details and just constantly digging deeper and deeper. But right now, I'm deliberately looking at everything through the most straightforward lens I can find. I recently made a video about the Broncos using a similar approach, where the core idea is simply, people are questioning how good the Broncos are going to be. And yet, you have a quarterback entering his third year. Just based on that fact alone, he should be better now in year 3. Do you honestly think he won't improve compared to his rookie season? That wouldn't make any sense. They just added Jalen Waddle, giving him a true, legitimate number 1 wide receiver. Do you think he won't perform better with that kind of player than he did in previous years? Of course he will. And on top of that, he's supposed to have a better play caller now. So when you look at those factors, it becomes very binary. You're giving him these upgrades. Obviously, at an absolute minimum, he should be improved compared to where he was before. And that's exactly how I see the Buffalo Bills right now. I truly believe they've made real moves to upgrade this defense, even if only from a coaching standpoint. So I'm quite confident that this defensive unit will perform better. Then on the offensive side, you didn't have DJ Moore last year. Now you do have DJ Moore this year. To think that won't have an impact on Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills is just illogical. That makes no sense at all. Of course it will have an impact. Is it enough to win a Super Bowl? Is it enough to become the best team in the league? Is it enough to have the third best roster after the NFL draft? I don't know, honestly. Nobody really knows. That's precisely why that type of conversation feels like, okay, sure, whatever. But to use that uncertainty as a way to imply the Bills have no chance, that they aren't improving, come on, of course they are. And on top of that, Josh Allen is a force multiplier himself. I also believe Brady will bring that same quality as a head coach. So it's one of those situations where, there are certain players, certain quarterbacks, where, let's keep this extremely basic. Let's not overcomplicate it. You don't have a great wide receiver. Now we give you a wide receiver. Every single quarterback will improve. Every single one. You had a season without a good wide receiver. Now the next year, you have a great wide receiver. Any quarterback, backup, third string, fourth string, fifth string, college QB, high school QB, you will be better. Sorry, I just bumped my microphone. You will be better. Now take Josh Allen. Now you're in the Josh Allen category, where when you add that piece, not only will you be better, but you'll also open up so much more. He's the ultimate example of a force multiplier. Let's continue keeping this really, really simple, okay? Let's use a more neutral example of a wide receiver, Justin Jefferson. If you add Justin Jefferson to Kyler Murray, because that's likely to happen, Kyler Murray is going to become a better quarterback. He'll be able to run a better offense. No question about it. Now add Justin Jefferson to Josh Allen. You are then set up for a historically great year. Whether that means Justin Jefferson going off for 2,000 yards, or whatever it ends up being, you are positioned to truly achieve greatness. I am not saying DJ Moore is Justin Jefferson. I'm using that as a clear-cut illustration of different degrees of improvement and what force multipliers do. So even if you just add a genuinely good wide receiver, a number 2 type, or any kind of elevation, when you give those ingredients to Josh Allen, the impact is so much greater and more significant. Without a doubt. We have endless examples of this. Endless examples. Actually, there's a quote from Colin that I've grown to love more and more recently, something he has emphasized a lot. The idea is, you don't have to be great everywhere, you just can't be bad anywhere. I completely agree with that. But that principle becomes even more important when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen. If you can just elevate things a little bit, if you can just give him a little more to work with, then now we're talking, right? Now we're in a position to succeed. Now we can really get to work. It's the ultimate trickle-down effect. That's why so many people, and maybe this is why I'm downplaying it slightly, perhaps I shouldn't, but adding Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs, just having any semblance of a more consistent running game, will really open things up for them. That would be a fair criticism of some of my previous takes about the Chiefs. Even though I've said I think they'll be better and their offense will improve, I just don't see it as an absolute game changer. Similar to how I'm not claiming DJ Moore is an absolute game changer. But it will be significantly better. And considering where the Bills have been and where they currently stand, that does put them in a great position. Combine that with a hopefully improved defense that isn't a liability, and there you go. That's it. Now you're also working with an offensive coordinator. I've told you all this a million times, and that's because I've directly experienced it in multiple sports. There is such a huge difference between having your head coach versus your position coach or coordinator. Let me just use position coach as a placeholder. The difference is enormous. When that position coach becomes the head coach, even though you've mainly reported to that position coach before, it changes the entire dynamic. Everything shifts. I promise you, the relationship Josh Allen has with Brady now is fundamentally different from when Brady was simply the offensive coordinator. That relationship is fundamentally different. And I believe there are tremendous benefits to that. Brady now has more control and authority over what he wants to do, how he wants to run practices, where he allocates time, energy, and resources. As a coordinator, he didn't have that, he was more handcuffed because it wasn't his team. And Josh Allen, even though yes, that's your coordinator, your main guy from a quarterback and offensive perspective, he still wasn't the head coach. It's still different. I promise you, it's different. Now that relationship has changed for the better. That alone, I think, will have a legitimate positive impact. So I'm anticipating a more disciplined, more buttoned-up offense, and that excites me. So yeah. I think the conversation should be more about the Bills as a whole, not about trying to figure out where they rank analytically in terms of best roster. Because that's like, sure, okay, fine. And again, is Josh Allen carrying a lot of that weight? People mention the Eagles because they have a stacked roster, or the Seahawks, or the Rams. But everyone told me the Eagles have this loaded roster. So where are the Eagles then? Well, Jalen Hurts isn't Josh Allen. So if you remove Josh Allen, does the Bills roster drop to 10th, 15th? That's exactly why, like I said, I only care so much. But if you guys have that answer, please do let me know in the comments. Those are just my thoughts. I'd genuinely love to hear yours. Do you think the Bills have an elite top roster? Because if you have the third best roster, that means you have an elite roster. How do you feel about the way they're constructed? How do you feel about their ability to be legitimate Super Bowl contenders? I mean more so than in past years, because obviously they've always been contenders. But maybe the better question is, do you think this is their year to lose, at least in the AFC? Right? At least in the AFC. Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree, let's start some discussions. Let's get into some arguments. But ultimately, let's just have fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you be part of it. I want to build something we all feel connected to, something we're genuinely excited to belong to. I think we're well on our way. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, it really helps with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.